Hello everyone, I'm Julius A. Derla. The game that we choose in linear storytelling is Little Nightmare. We will talk about the game and story of Little Nightmare and why this game is a linear storytelling. First, we would like to show to all of you the trailer of our chosen game, which is Little Nightmare. This game was published by Bandai Namco Entertainment. The game was developed by Tarsier Studio. Little Nightmare is a puzzle platform horror adventure game developed by Tarsier and published for Microsoft Windows, Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and Stadia. A little kid named Six was kidnapped from her home and taken to the mall, a giant underwater restaurant where she was made into a servant for visiting guests. At some point, she managed to escape and hide in the depths of the mouth, after which she begins her journey. The genre of this game is puzzle platform horror adventure game, and the game was released in 2017. The kind of story is linear storytelling. Little Nightmare begins the story on the lower floor of the mall. The mall, a ship filled with a ugly and creepy humanoid monster of various shapes and sizes. The main character of the game is little girl in a yellow raincoat named Six. We will accompany her in the game as she tries to get out of the ship alive. The player of the game plays as a girl named Six, who must escape the ship. The ship has 5 parts. First is the prison. The prison is the first area Six passes through in the game. It is where Six first awakens and the game begins. The second part is the lair. The lair is the second area Six passes through the Little Nightmares. The janitor will be encountered frequently in this area. Chapter 3, The Kitchen, is the third area Six passes through in Little Nightmares. And this area is the home of twin chefs. The guest area is the fourth area Six passes through in Little Nightmares. Hence the game, the guest will be the primarily antagonist found here. Chapter 5, The Ladies' Quarter, also known the Residence. The fifth area Six passes through. It is where the lady resident and it is the last chapter of the main game.
Good day, I am Jerald Sabana. So before proving that the Little Nightmare is a linear type of storytelling, I'm gonna discuss first what linear narrative is. So linear or traditional narrative is a story progression that is in chronological order, meaning the events happen from first to last. So if you visualize it, it is just a straight line that serves as path, having a starting point and an ending point, where in between those points, there are points of events that will happen before the resolution or the final end. This type of narrative is most commonly used in movies, books, and plays, and etc. In games, it follows a very specific forward motion set of events that doesn't allow the player to backtrack, skip ahead, or influence the storyline, meaning the game has zero choices that affects the storyline. There are no branches as there is no choices in the story. There is only one path, one story, and thus one ending. So to prove that Little Nightmare is a linear story, earlier it is said that Little Nightmares is comprised of 5 chapters, so the storyline is in chronological order without having any branches, and players can't backtrack, skip ahead, or influence the storyline. The story starts at the chapter 1, the prison, then the following chapter, chapter 2, the lair, next is chapter 3, and so on, until you get to the last chapter which ends the story. So that meets the definition of linear storytelling. As previously said, linear storytelling involves no choices or decisions, as there is only one written story. But that doesn't mean that Little Nightmares, being a linear story, has no decision making. It is a game, so there are decisions to be made in the game, but it doesn't affect the storyline, but only affects the gameplay. To prove that, here is a footage of the game where it is shown that there are 2 ways to pass this level. So the player strategizes action to pass this level. The player thinks of an easier route to avoid being caught by the light that makes you turn into stone. So the player chooses to walk deep in the dark where the light can't reach him. So the decision making here happened when the player chose to walk in the easier route. So as you can see, his decision did not affect the story at all, but it only affects the gameplay. Little Nightmare's story is restricted by the game mechanics because there is only one written story. So in the game, there are 3 possibilities that may happen to your character. You might die because of your opponents like leeches and then you respawn. Or you might get caught by the creature then you respawn. Or you might pass the level by avoiding such obstacles and then you move on to the next level. So as you can see, you respawn after dying from leeches, or if you got caught by the ugly creatures, you respawn as there is no separate story if you experience those things. You get to respawn in checkpoints to try again to pass the level, as that is the only path you have to follow in unveiling the story. That is all for linear storytelling. Thank you for listening.
Hello, I'm Ferreras. Here in Branching Storyline, we choose The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim. We choose this because Skyrim is one of the largest and most popular RPG, and the freedom of actions makes Skyrim stand out from other RPGs. We can create a character representing one of several available races and develop it towards our preferred style of playing. The game doesn't force you to focus on the main plot and then doing the side quest. You can also complete many other tasks related to the Civil War, Skyrim, or those that are part of various guilds found in this country. Free exploration is equally interesting. Hundreds of interesting locations like cities, villages, camps, ruins, or dungeon inhabited by a variety of monsters are waiting for you to explore. Players can embark on their quests to confront Alduin while making choices along the way that affect various side quests and stories regarding different groups of people scattered across the land. Skyrim was remarkable for its time in allotting the player a fair amount of freedom to travel the land in whatever way they want. And also they focus on telling one story, and there are decision points in all the quest lines that can change things, but overall it's a single story. Because the side quests are smaller stories, they are more likely to have major branches. For example, you can decide to save or betray someone or kill NPC, which changes the whole end of the quest.
I am Michael Lipandesos and I'm continuing the Elder Scroll 5 Skyrim. The platform of this game is PC and console, Xbox or PlayStation. The Skyrim was released on November 11, 2011. The Elder Scroll 5 Skyrim, non-player characters populate the world. The player may engage them in conversation, marry predetermined ones, or engage them in lethal or non-lethal combats. As in previous game in the series, killing certain NPC can make some quests or items unobtainable. Some NPC cannot be killed because of their significance to the narrative. If witnesses crimes like murder and theft occurred, the player a bounty which is tracked independently in each of Skyrim's 9 holds. If the player is detained by a guard, they may eliminate their bounty with golds, serve jail time or resist arrest, triggering combat. It is also possible to bribe or persuade guards if the crime is minor offense. NPC frequently offer the player additional side quests. Some have parameters adjusted based on nearby and unexplored areas. Some NPC who are befriended or hired by the player may act as companion who will accompany the player and aid them in combat. The player may choose to join factions, organize groups of NPCs. For example, the Dark Brotherhood and the Band of Assassins. Each of the faction has associated quest path to progress through, and each cities and town in the game world has job that the player can engage in, such as farming. Branching is a way to keep the game story on flow, creating sub-story every time the main story have a chance to branch out another story. That's branch.
Pleasant day, sir. I am Blesselle D. Ramirez together with Mr. Cecilio Naparan to explain our third chosen game. So our third chosen game is Grand Theft Auto 5. So what is Grand Theft Auto 5? Auto 5 or GTA 5 is a video game developed by Rockstar North and published by Rockstar Games, which is released on September 17, 2013. So this game is the 15th installment in the Grand Theft Auto series. Its game is set within the fictional state of San Andreas, which is based on Southern California. So the game story of this game follows 3 protagonists, which are Michael De Santa, Franklin Clinton, and Trevor Phillips, together with their attempts to commit heist while being challenged by the corrupt government agency and powerful criminals. So the game design of the game let the players explore San Andreas open countryside and the fictional city of Los Santos, based on Los Angeles. Lastly, this game involves shooting and driving gameplay to accomplish the missions. So the genre of GTA 5 is action adventure. This game was released on 2013, and this game is available in platforms like PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4, and PlayStation 5. It's also available in platforms like Xbox 360, Xbox One, and Xbox Series X/S. It is also available in Microsoft Windows, which means it is playable in our PCs or laptops. And the kind of story of this game is parallel paths. To further explain how it became a parallel path, here is Mr. Naparan.
Good day, sir. For the discussion why the GTA or Grand Theft Auto 5 is a parallel path storyline, because there are three main characters that are playable in the game. The three characters have a different stories and lifestyle. The first character is Franklin Clinton. He is African American who worked as repman for a luxury car dealership, but eventually he quit and worked to Michael DeSanta, one of the main characters, as partner in heist. His goal is to be a big-time or rich in Los Santos. His abilities are good driving skills and high stamina. The second character is Michael DeSanta. He is rich and living in a mansion in Los Santos. He also retired bank robber, criminal career, and partner with Trevor Phillips, one of the main characters. But due to their heist 9 years ago, they are arguing. He is good at shooting and have a high health back. The third character is Trevor Phillips. He is a bank robber and mentally unstable, always raging. He founded the Trevor Phillips Enterprise, which deals with drugs and guns. His abilities are shooting skills and high maintenance vehicle. The three main characters has also different missions. There are significant color in the map: blue for Michael, green for Franklin, and orange for Trevor for signs their missions. Next slide, please. As you can see, this is the character wheel, which include the statistics of every character. Their special stamina, shooting strength, skill, flying, driving, and lung capacity. Next slide. This is the point of view of Franklin. Next slide. This is the Michael's point of view. And this is the Trevor's point of view.
So, good afternoon, Sir Janice. So, yung game po na napili namin para sa Treadmill is yung Maple Story. Yung game overview po namin, it helps to prevent the whole of Maple's world from falling under the rule of the infamous Black Mage in Maple Story. It is a free-to-play 2D, side-scrolling MMORPG that has stood the test of time and remains one of the most popular MMORPGs. It chose from over 30 unique classes, from knights, assassins, and mages to samurais, and even legendary heroes with their own distinct playing styles. It lives out the game's story from the unique point of view each class as you explore a massive and colorful 2D while completing quests alone or with a party. You can experience this game's unique platform-style quest along with a huge variety of content that the game has to offer, including mini-games and puzzle quests. Dagdag information din po pala dun sa game overview na si Vitet, yung nag-develop ng game. Tapos na-publish by Nexon. Sa genre po namin, 2D, side-scrolling MMORPG. Tapos, year release, April 29, 2003. Tapos yung platform po, Windows, Microsoft Windows.
Good day, Sir Janos. I am Mr. Tapas. Okay.
First, let's have a brief discussion of Maple Story's background. As we all know, Maple Story is a game that is 18 years old, and considering the game's age, it is still maintaining a great number of players. And in fact, if you go to population.mmo, it's a site that tracks the population or the population of players that plays an MMO game. And in fact, that Maple Story is in top 13 considering the new MMO games like New World and Final Fantasy. And one of the reasons why players still want to play this game is because of its story. Then, why did we consider Maple Story as threaded story structure? First, Maple Story is an MMO game itself, which means that players can interact or they can see each other in the game itself. Despite having a huge map or world, players can interact with each other. And the fact that there are a lot of characters in the game itself offers different stories based on the character that you played, and those stories is made because of the foundation of as the Maple Story universe, basing the Maple Story universe story background, which we will see in our PDF. And also, it is considered as threaded story structure because there are times that the player or the current player players can help each other to complete the quest or in order to progress in the story. And there are also side quests or side stories that is another character of the threaded story structure. And one of the example of character story in the game is Kinesis. Kinesis is a character in the Maple Story which has a power of telekinesis, but Kinesis has its own stories, has his own story, and that's all. Thank you.
Good day everyone, my name is Jerald Andamon,
And yan Wendell E, Osea.
and this is our presentation in game development, and our topic for today is dynamic object-oriented narrative. Our game that we chosen is Detroit Become Human based in this topic. So the question is why we choose this game. Based on the module, the dynamic object-oriented narrative is just like a kind of game that many different outcomes, paths or endings, and also this game have a force replay problem that the player must play many times to see all the story paths because it has many endings. So that's why this game is related to dynamic object-oriented narrative. So next.
So in game overview, Detroit Become Human is a cinematic neon noir thriller game developed by Quantic Realm and published for PlayStation 4. Releasing also for Microsoft Windows, the game is the company's fifth title and their fourth interactive drama. It is written by and directed by Quantic Dreams founder and co-CEO David Cage. The game itself was released on May 25, 2018, and the digital premium version was released a day before, on May 24, 2018, for PlayStation 4. For Microsoft Windows, it was released on December 12, 2019 as an Epic Games Store exclusive, and it received a wider release on the Steam Store on June 18, 2012.
So next, the genre of this game is action, adventure, and third person. The platform is PS4, PS5, and Microsoft. Then year release is 2018.
So in discussion, set in Detroit during the year 2038, the city has been revitalized by the invention and introduction of androids into everyday life. But when androids start behaving as if they are alive, events begin to spin out of control. Step into the roles of the story's pivotal three playable characters in like Connor, Marcus, and Kara, each with unique perspective, motivations, and abilities as they face their true selves and question their values. These three androids are present throughout the game as they follow through an emotional journey with choices that must be taken in order for their ultimate cause, which can be defined many different ways depending on the values of the player. The plot of the game deals with a variety of mature themes that explore moral ground, and each player's decisions affect what will happen.
Next discussion, Detroit Become Human is played from a third-person view, which is subject to a set and controllable perspective. The right analog stick on the DualShock controller is used to interact with objects and observe one's surroundings. The left is for movement, and R2 scans an environment for possible actions. The motion controls and touchpad are also employed. The gameplay is similar to the company's third title, Heavy Rain, though similar inputs like prompted quick-time events and dialogue decisions are still part of the gameplay. Therefore, the story will branch out depending on which choices are made. For actions, sequences, or contextual interactions, players are presented with various symbols requiring them to either press buttons, move the right analog stick in a certain way, or shake or tilt the controller.
So next, in another discussion, in action sequences, such as when the playable character is being attacked, failure to execute these commands take the story along a drift path, and certain mistake can lead to a character's death. However, in some cases, a time sequence play out before the playable character meets his or her demise. The game presents several routes that player can take to end the playable character predicament. Players have to find the correct route before the timer at the bottom runs out. All the playable characters can die in the course of the story. If the playable character dies, the game does not end, and play control switches to another character with the events of the previous character's death affecting the story to some extent. Therefore, the story can continue without any of them. However, the character of Connor can die and be replaced with a new model multiple times. So, this impacts his relationships with some characters. Higher gameplay difficulties result in shorter duration for players to analyze situations and respond to them. Additionally, making choices early in the game can lock out the dialogue and action choices later in the game.
So another discussion, a flowchart feature is included every time the player concludes a chapter, so that the player is able to check out on what they had missed out on. The flowchart could also be accessed by pausing the game. Players can compare the choices they have made with other players with visual percentages labeled next to their designated choices. For some major decision points, player will have the ability to roll back to the beginning of the checkpoint to choose a different path. This will not be available all the time. Also, levels abound with the magazines for players to read, providing backstory to the game universe. This can be reread at leisure in the extras section of the main menu. An unusual aspect of the game is that it features a non-playable protagonist, an android named Chloe, who is only encountered in the game's menu and who undergoes character development of her own as the game progresses.
So that's all for our presentation. Thanks for listening.